All right, we're Ginny Simpson. This is Ginny Simpson championship year versus
Yes.
Ginny Simpson run fast last year, I guess. A slight
Yes.
different in your mindset.
Do I look different?
You
No,
look
I'm
different
kidding.
tremendously. But you still were world number one last year.
Yeah.
So, and also to win the world championships, you have to be able to run fast. So sort of like, is there a little difference in the training, or is it just the mindset?
I think it's a mindset, and yeah, please. I mean, understand that it doesn't mean if I'm working towards winning a medal at the World Championships, that does not mean that I'm not going to run fast this year or that I don't want to. I certainly think a PR is possible. I'm training like it. I hope that comes, but I think it's important for me to kind of own up to the fact that. At this point, with that goal, I can't always be doing both. I can't always be hoping to win or working to win and working to set a PR every single race. So I got a really fun year in 2014 to focus on the PR, and now I'm going to focus on the win.
When your first sort of big breakthrough at 1500 was here
Yes.
in college, that 359. I mean, did that surprise you?
Oh my gosh, yeah. And I
then-
still look back on that, and I still watch that race, especially because then I went so many years without running sub 4 again. I still look at that race and I think I don't know how. But Eugene has a way, the stadium here, Hayward Field, and the crowd has a way of bringing out the best in athletes. And so I think that certainly happened that way. I went on to run close to that time, but then coming back last year was really, really fun. I think it's the most fun I've ever had in a race that I got fourth place because being able to finally say, okay, I'm back, 358, I'm back to running fast times, and now having gone on to run sub 4 several more times last year, that mark is not intimidating to me anymore.
And I guess before the 359, were you even thinking of yourself as a 1500 runner? Or was Mark thinking of you as a 1500 meter runner? I mean, did that sort of change the whole trajectory?
I believe that this is correct, that when I ran Prefontaine in 2009 as a college senior, that was my fifth 1500 meter race of my life. I'd only run 5 in my life.
Wow.
And so I really was very focused, singularly a steeplechaser. And I also think it's so funny sometimes how fate takes you places, because I don't think if I hadn't gone on that run of breaking several records indoors and then setting the collegiate record in the 5K outdoors, I just had this great streak going of setting the collegiate record, and so it made it really tempting to want to get the 1500 meter record as well. If I hadn't gone on that streak of records, I don't think we would have tried to get into a 15, and I don't think I certainly would not have been let into the Prefontaine.
But wasn't the record like 405 or something?
406.
It was not very good.
And it's funny
You barely
too
got it
because,
there.
Yeah, it was 406, and it was by Hannah England. And so I think it's just so great that then in 2011 she and I were first and second.
So, what's the goal this weekend? Just to win, or?
Yeah, the goal this
Be
weekend is to
competitive?
win, and also to. This is my first 15 this season, and so the 800 meter mark, coming through the 800, whether it's 206 or 210 or whatever, kind of that to me is a little bit of a benchmark of like how I feel, my fitness. Can I really come through in 208 and keep going hard and pick it up and press hard and kick hard? So there's a little bit of the question mark still in me because I haven't run a 15 yet. That I'm going to be feeling out and discovering, what did all this training accumulate to? So I don't know. I'm a little bit nervous because, your first race of the season, you learn a lot about what your training is adding up to. And so I'm going to be learning that tomorrow.
And then Jason's saying Rome after that, and then USA's?
Yes. Yeah, Rome, 5 days later. We'll see how that goes. I last year, U.S. Championships, and then went on to Paris and raced 5 or 6 days later. So having done that last year and run so well in Paris, I feel like that's something that I can hopefully duplicate again this year. And also, we have to learn to run hard back-to-back after. So it'll be like Pre's the first round and the airplane ride is the semifinal and Rome is the final or something. But then I go home and train again.
And you get to, skipping the 1500 at nationals, or you could run it, but you don't have to. That's a nice choice to have, right? Because the American women are very good. I mean, you have Shannon running here.
Yeah.
So kind of maybe talk a little bit about the U.S. 15 scene. You don't have to worry about beating them this year until Worlds, but
I am so so lucky to be able to run USA's like another race, and to be able to come without the pressure of I have to be top 3 and make the team. I don't know that there's a way that you can properly articulate, even if you're number 1 in the world or you're running the best of your life, the pressure on being top 3 on one specific day. That's really tough. But I think acknowledging that still exists is important, even though I don't have that pressure this year, because I'm going to have it next year. So I'm kind of split. I'm kind of reveling and knowing that I get to plan my trip to China already, but trying still to kind of role play a little bit of what that's like to know that I have to perform on that day, because nobody gets a bye for the Olympics.
So you'll run the 15 at USA's?
That's a plan. Yeah, is to run the 15. There's always that temptation to run either the 8 or the 5K. I don't think of myself as being very great at the 8.
Yeah, don't do the 8. Don't do the 8.
So I think that's a less likely scenario. But I still I train hard and I run a lot of miles, and the 5K is a possibility. But the plan today is to stick with the 15.
And Mary Cain's kind of struggling this year. Do you have any? She's 19 years old, but what advice do you have, or do you have any thoughts on her sort of? She took a big step back, but
yeah.
She's way better than you were at that age. So what perspective do you have? Or
exactly what you said. She's way better than I was at that age. She's surrounded by a completely different crowd of resources and people and coaches. And so I don't think that I can properly relate to her situation. And I personally don't know her either. So it's hard for me to make any comment on her racing or her lifestyle because I don't know it. But that being said, I would just say an encouraging word to the entire situation that for a young woman to have one season that isn't going great is not uncommon. And so, if she can weather this and continue training and stuff, she's probably going to be fine.
Thanks.